This is Paula Van Gilder with Talk with Paula. I welcome you and I thank you for joining me today. As many know, I am a huge advocate and a voice for mental health and addiction. The reason being for this is because I have family members, friends, family that have had a history of the past, with addiction, mental health. And I learned at a very young age to educate myself. And I, as well, suffered from depression and anxiety for years, but I had a really good way of hiding it. And I have learned through the years, it's nothing to be ashamed of. If anything, it's something to talk about because too many of us don't talk. So I, know we all have a past. We've all had stuff that has gone through, has happened to us. And I also am a firm believer is we shouldn't be defined as our past. I am beyond grateful and thankful today for my guests, and I'm going to try not to have a moment. I remember when I first started talking about my history and the impact it had on a lot of people, especially where I'm from. I'm not from here. I was born in Barrie, grew up in South Burlington, and moved to Middlebury, and then I came down here. But a lot of people never knew of my history. I was pretty good at hiding it. And I had this image, I guess it's a good way to put it. And I was excited when I had chatted with my guest, Noah Schmidt, which I am so beyond grateful when he said, yes, he would come on and talk with me. And as a mama, as a mom, as a, town person in Ludlow, I was like, I am beyond honored that you said, yes, you will come on and talk to me about mental health and addiction. So I told Noah, I just usually wing it. I may drop in some potty words here and there, but I said, I just kind of go with the flow. So Noah, I want to thank you so much for coming and chatting. It means the world to me. And I'm trying not to hug you because I'd probably have a moment. I'm a very sensitive girl. So thank you, honey, very much.
Well, thank you for having me. I think what you're doing is awesome, and just talking about it is a huge piece that we don't do enough about. And I think everyone has had a history, has been touched by mental health, addiction, and I think those are very they're coupled so much. Me personally, I have not drank alcohol for 4.5 years now. It's been quite a journey, and something that I think, for me personally at least, kind of fell into it. And one day it was like, wow, how did I get myself into this situation? Grew up in a great home, really didn't have any issues where I can say, oh, this is where my alcohol addiction came from, or anything like that. To really paint the picture, went up to school at UVM. Never really was a big party or anything like that, but kind of came back home, working landscaping. That beer at the end of the day was very easy, and something that really felt natural. And then years later, felt like these goals, these ambitions I had, nothing was really coming together. Couldn't identify what that was necessarily. In conversations with different people, eventually went and found a therapist, expecting to get that pill, and boom, your problems are solved.
Mm.
Everything is going to come together, and that was not the case. It was a lot of talking, and I guess, throughout this, looking for, a lot of self-help books, and these pieces that, oh, this is how I can improve my life. And on the surface, things were going well, but something was always getting in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And those times where, oh man, why did I was foolish in how I acted last night, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And through therapy, it was probably 2 years of that. It really came down to removing alcohol would probably be a good step, at least to try it out and
Mm-hmm.
see how that goes. And then it became very clear that, this is much more difficult than I would have imagined. I'm very outdoorsy, a lot of skiing, a lot of biking. That never was impacted a ton, but it was thinking about these trips I wanted to do, these adventures, and how am I going to bring that beer up with me? How am I going to bring, something so I can enjoy the summit and have that beer? And that was a pretty big realization for me. My path, I feel, it was very independent. It's something that I worked a lot by myself to get to finally get to this piece. My mom's father, his I don't think he'd ever classify himself as an alcoholic, but was very aware of his relationship with alcohol, and would remove it for a time, would go back and would drink a little bit, but was very aware of that. And he was someone that I opened up to a lot, and we had amazing conversations, and just came to me with this no judgment, just talking, and something where I never lied to him with what I was doing. And I definitely did would lie, would fib, wouldn't tell the whole truth, but to myself, you couldn't lie. And in those times where you're by yourself, this is a problem, and this is a monkey on my back that is scary. And a lot of sober Instagram accounts, a lot of books, and something where I could see the person I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
I could be that person a lot of times,
yep.
but it never was fully that person. And the times where you would, get out of work, go to the store to get some beer. As soon as you had the beer, that sense of relief, which is very interesting. It's not the sip of the beer. It was, hey, I have this in my possession. Now I feel better. That stress is gone. And I can't tell you exactly what it was that allowed me to remove it. There was a really good exercise I did in the 30-day sobriety solution, and it talked about closing your eyes and imagining what your life is going to be in 5 years, in 10 years with alcohol. And what is it without alcohol? And that was very impactful. I was with my now wife, Rachel, and I could see that future that I wanted to build, become a husband, become a father. And with alcohol in there, it didn't feel right. It didn't, I could see where the train could come off the tracks way too easily. Thought about going to AA, looked at appointments, and multiple times never went to anything. But in my head, it's like this, and we need to figure something out because it's not working. And one day, something clicked. And that was the last day I drank alcohol. And from there on, it was everything clicked. That piece in my life, what that was missing was finally there, and things came together. Not that it's easy, but that, seeing people drink, going to a bar, it's not a trigger for me anymore. And that's something that, since the years following, I think a lot of it is directly tied to mental health. I think addiction for me was a way to quiet your mind, to get out of that, monotony of life. I think that, we don't talk about is, you go to graduate high school, you go to college, get a job, and that's your life. But you're still washing dishes, and doing laundry, and mowing the lawn, and having a beer. Great, it makes that a little more enjoyable, and very quickly that got out of hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my story. One other piece that I had from one book was this idea of you take you're on a plane in Los Angeles, and you're heading to New York City, and you are off by 1 degree. Well, from here to the other side of that room, you're going to be in pretty much the same spot. On that long distance, instead of landing in New York City, you're going to be in Washington, D.C. That is a big distance. Over the course of the first year, now these 4 years, my life trajectory has drastically changed by removing that small little piece. It has made my relationships better, my work better, whole life much better.
That's awesome.
But it's not easy.
No, and I'm beyond proud of you. A few things that I was writing when you were talking, because a lot of people, you nailed it. And if I have a moment, I'm very sorry. Where's some tissue? As a mom, I'm listening to you, and I have a family member that went through addiction and chose to do the path on his own, not do a group, not do medication. He did self-help, meditation, does a lot of soul searching, big into hiking and everything, in a small community where people judge, which sucks. But he's done it on his own. And I call that power. That's a strength that's inside that I'm like, kudos. Not that I'm condoning people that do need a group or medication, but a true power is also when you can reach inside and deal with it, because it's needed. But like I have said numerous times, there's no magic wand. It's work. But you have to want to do the work. Yeah. And I remember one time I said, when I was going to, I think I had just walked out of a crack house, to be honest with you, and my husband was having a fit. But I was like, at the end of the day, when you're a mom, you hyper focus. And I just knew that, my family member was at a bad time. And to see where he was and where he is now, it's like, oh my God, thank you. But it takes a lot of strength and power to get to that point, to work through it, because it's not easy, but you got to want it so bad that you can taste it.
Yeah.
And I remember my own personal journey with mental health and my anxiety. I was like, I knew that I needed to get to the core before I could move on. Yeah. When you have a visualization where you want to be in this world, and I am so proud of you, because you are, you're doing amazing. But I'm like, I knew where I wanted to be. I'm a very big timeline person. And I had mentioned, I think my last episode, when I first did my first show here, I said, if I can reach just one person, I've reached a lot more than one person. I have a group now that has really done a lot of help for people. And I'm not afraid to talk about two very uncomfortable topics. Mental health and addiction, I don't know why people are so threatened by it. But one thing I wanted to share with you, I brought these, I was showing Noah today. Actually, hopefully they can make a copy. If I could go back and hug this little girl, I would. Because I look at this and, you know, I did grow up in dysfunction. On the outside, my family looked perfect. It wasn't. You know, I had a lot of dysfunction. We have, you know, mental health that runs in my family. We have addiction. So, but I knew I wanted to make a difference. And that's why when you were saying, yes, you wanted to talk about, or, you know, I'm like, that made my heart sing, because I was like, you know, it's just, I know you want to help other people too, because it's nothing to be ashamed of, and you can move mountains.
Yeah.
You know, how do I want to say this? So many people are driven by what they're supposed, I don't know if that's the right word that I'm thinking of. So many people are driven by social media there. That's a better way to put it. And I could be wrong if I'm saying that, because I'm using social media right now to get this out here. But a lot of people are very influenced by positive and negative. And the bottom line is it comes within.
Yeah. I think those pieces that, you know, that power, there's willpower is something that I tried to use. And willpower, you have a certain amount of it. And it's really easy in the morning. And then you get later in the day, and that you've been using that the whole time, and it runs out. And that's something that I think, that inner power, strength, that I really resonated with this idea of, once you fully understand a problem, the solution just appears. And now it isn't a problem anymore, because you fully understand what's going on. And that really resonated with me, where alcohol just isn't an option for me anymore. Just like, you know, I'm not the tallest guy in the room. I am never going to be 6 foot tall. That is what it is. I could wish it, you know, but it's not an option. And that's how I feel with alcohol. And I think that's the understanding of how I, you know, who I am. And that just is not a good fit for me. I think other people will struggle with that, you know, for a long time, forever. I don't have that, and I feel very fortunate that it isn't like that. But I think that, like, you know, you're never gonna change someone because they need to be changed, or you need to want it fully. You know, that's something that, as much as I would want to do it for my parents or for my wife or anything like that,
you gotta want
it's never going to be lasting. No. And it's that, like, hey, I really want to be better. But it's also something where those people will help you. And that community, I have never once asked for a NA beer or a seltzer at a bar or with friends and been looked down on. I think it's something that this, you know, at least my generation, people are super into mental health and doing that, you know, doing the work. It's something that a good friend of mine who's also sober, a bunch of friends actually who are just awesome. Like, don't drink, and it's very normal now. But he really, you know, he started talking about it in his circles, and he really encouraged me to, like, hey, put it out there. I did, for the snow report that we run on Official Chemo, I did a post on that for my 4 years, and the people you wouldn't know that struggle or have, there's a lot of them out there. And it's not unique. We don't necessarily talk about it a ton. And I think the one thing with mental health addiction, it's, you know, it's something where you can't point to say, my arm is broken, I have this issue, and I'm going to do these things to remedy that. It's an illness that your mind doesn't I think it resonates with depression a lot, where like when you're in that state, you don't want to get help. You are in this hole that it's really hard to get that power to do the things you need to do to recover, to be in a better space. I think that's what it is, very isolating to be in that.
That's a good word for
that
it.
state.
Yeah.
And I think the community and that piece, when you are ready, that is a big boost to that success.
I mean, isolation, I noticed with a lot of people. I saw a huge thing of isolation, especially with COVID. And I think that's what actually gave me the drive, because I knew what I was feeling, because I had battled stuff, my demons, years ago. But all of a sudden stuff started creeping up, and I noticed I was doing old habits, because people may have alcohol or whatever. My thing has always been, I know I'm thin, but I have always done eating. Comfort food is like my thing. So I've gone up and down with my weight. And I noticed it's kind of bizarre, because I was like, oh my God, I need like a warm chocolate chip cookie because it brought me comfort, but then I'd feel like shit after. And I was like, I know I wasn't the only one feeling like that. And then I started noticing people drinking more, doing more substance, everything else. And I was like, we're about to go into a shitstorm. And I know how I was feeling. And actually, one of my clients, thank you, by the way, he has a beautiful home on the lake. And he's like, just go use it. Thank God I had that, because that was like my separation vacation. But I did a lot of soul searching there too, because this house is like 8,000 square feet. And I just had time to just kind of zone. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of people hurting right now. And I was watching it in Ludlow. There's a lot of great things that came. But when I was watching all these people break and start falling, and the depression was just, I was watching it. And I was like, this is what we need to do, because when stuff started opening back up, with the stores, the restaurants, kids, but especially the kids, I was like, we're in like for a world of, crap right now. And that was huge for me. That was, I want to say, probably my stepping stone, because I was watching and I said, we need to do something. We need to start talking about it, because this isn't anything we can sweep under the carpet anymore. And, kudos to you for doing the work, because I know it's hard. I've watched it, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your friends. I'm proud of the support you have, and you have a lovely family to begin with. And you're grateful. And there's a lot of people that don't have that, which sucks. But not that I'm intertwining my neighbors together, but that's why I do the talk show. That's why I have neighbors together, because I never want anybody to feel like they're by themselves or that they're judged, because I would be the first to say, well, you're full of shit and you're not judged. I'm like, what's going on? And I emphasize all the time, I'm not medically trained. I'm not a nurse, doctor, any of that business. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a nana, but I'm also real. It's like, I've gone through shit. I have seen family go through shit. I've seen friends go through shit. I'm like, we got to work together, even if you're working alone. I had the best massage last night from Lori, right? I love her to death. But I left there like this. Have you ever been into a zone like that where you're just so at peace? You're like, man, this feels good. If I could like bottle that, because it doesn't happen all the time. My life's not perfect. Shit happens. Stuff goes on. But just what I emphasize, and I know you probably feel the same way, but at the end of the day, just be a decent person. A good human. It doesn't take much, because we need more of that. So, I am thankful, very thankful you wanted to chat, because like I said, I am so proud of you. I was telling Noah, I said, it's funny, when I first moved to town, I remember hearing the Schmidt family. I'm like, who the hell's the Schmidt family? Very nice way. I love you very much. But I just remember hearing them. I'm like, okay, who are they? I'm not from here. And I remember when I got to know, the first person I got to know was your mama. And she's beautiful, beautiful person, but a beautiful person, not just outside, but inside. And then I met you and met your beautiful wife and your dad. And, it's just, that's solid. Not everybody has solid, but as a community, this is my goal. And I think I had shared that with you. I want to create something like we're an example, a community that's an example. Like, okay, no, maybe I won't hit everybody to make a difference, but at least if we can start in our community and support each other and be there, no, do I look at the Hallmark card? Be nice, but you know what I mean? Just if we can work together and stop judging and realize we all have shit we go through. I've said shit a lot today, sorry, but it's better than my other word. Yep, that I'm really working hard on. But do you have anything else you want to add? Or
I think it's, for me going through it, it's something where on paper, I have a great family. I, had the opportunity to go to college up at UVM, have all of these pieces that, came together. And it's very, it's like, I don't need I'm taken care of, I have a job that's paying the bills. I have all these things, but, and alcohol is getting in the way, and, like other people have much worse situations where it's like, I shouldn't be dealing with this kind of stuff. I should be able to pull it together. And that can be, whatever your situation, there's other people that are in those too, and you're not alone.
And many people feel like they are.
Yeah.
Or they're looked down upon. And I'm like, no. The problem is, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's such a stigma, which I tried to really emphasize that's got to break. But if we would break through those barriers and not put so much judgment.
Yeah. It's something that like there is a chemical addiction with your substances and things like that. So even if you are in a good mental state, you still have that, and maybe it started with a habit that turned into this thing that, as much as you want to do this other thing, you're getting drawn back into that. Yeah. And I think, we spoke about it a little bit before of like, you need to really want it. And that's the piece that, coming to terms with, okay, I have this issue I need to deal with and I want to stop. And then getting to that point to stop that is that zone that is really hard. And that's where different resources, community, all of those kind of things, I really look at my addiction, like I said before, as like this symptom of, this symptom of something where alcohol filled that hole. And I think you can easily fill it with something else. But unless you're looking at the root mental health issues, you're just going to be filling it with something else, whether that's eating, whether that's a different drug, whether that's exercise or all those things. And, I tried the gamut. I got into trail running up the Healdville Trail backside of Okemo every day.
Good for you. Good for you.
That lasted
have
2 weeks.
Oxygen tank with me.
2 weeks, and then it got cold, and then, okay, cool. Alcohol's back in, and, so coming up with, addressing that other stuff, because it is, okay, we dealt with the addiction, but why were you drawn to that thing? And I think easily, it can get filled with work. And, I've definitely been in that where all of a sudden, cool, I'm not drinking, but I'm still not present at home because I am working super late, or I'm coming home tired, or those kind of things. So I think it's always a work in progress. I think,
Bingo. Yep, right there.
I am who
There's
I
no
am
miracle.
because of that history. So I wouldn't change that. But always working on that next step. And yes, I'm not drinking, and that's a great feather in my cap, but not putting that to the wayside. So you want to still be,
but you're really
doing
aware
those
of
little
it.
things,
Yeah.
and very aware.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest piece is, okay, aware of what you're doing. I think about it with like, exercise and fitness too. It's like, are you doing the things you want to do? Are you living the life you want to live? And alcohol was not in that. And okay, cool. We need to remove that, but it very quickly could be other things too.
I love that. I'm going to start using that. Are you living the life you want to live? Because it's true. That is like an amazing, that might be my new motto. Are you living the life you want to live? Because if you repeat it, think about that and really think about that, because that's huge. If you can wake up in the morning and be like, is this what and that's where I'm going to be 60 and I keep just driving because I'm like, it's not that I'm not settled, but it's like, I know what I want. I have a drive where I know where I want things to go.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing more and more, which is awesome, because I was just sharing with you somebody at the laundromat the other day. Hey, bless her heart, love her to death. Very deaf woman, but great lady. And aren't you the one? But you know what? I was including her, and in the cooking group that we do for Neighbors Together, and she, just that connection. I know she's lonely. This will be huge for her. She'll have more connections. That's what it's all about. And I think that's why I can't emphasize enough why we're doing what we're doing, community connection to get people like together, So, and you've like hit on 5,000 things. And I'm like, wow, I could go on 3 hours of conversation with that one, because it's true. Everything you've said is exactly, my brain thinks like that. It's like, this is to get from point A to point B, you have to do the work. I'm very big into visualizations. Huge. I do a timeline. I have that poster board business. It's right behind a door. I'm just like that. That's my thing. It's like and it doesn't mean shit. Crappy things happen. You fall behind, but you still have your focus. Don't lose sight of your focus. You could share everything that you've done. I knew you used to be on the board here. You're a selectman. Your work. Don't you have the business, don't you?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Vacation rental business.
And it's like, I'm looking at you. You're young, but you got the drive.
Yeah.
But everybody can have the drive. You just gotta want it.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anything big or glorious or things like that. Everything I do is really, I did this, I took this class in college, my senior year, permaculture. And so it's really focused on, intentional, land development, or you have your homestead, and your chickens are used for your fertilizer for your garden, and all these kind of things. But I really took it as like in my life of things that I wanted to do, and have an impact on my community. Travel, which really is just getting out of my local sphere. So it could be going up north to Burlington and exploring an area there that I haven't done. It could be traveling outside the U.S., but just getting outside of my local sphere to see new people, see new cultures, different ways of living. I was just down in South Carolina this spring, and seeing how they did their park system, and things like that. Oh, that's a cool idea. But really, connection, building a life that that I am happy to share with my family and my community. I think those connections with community are a big piece that we don't think about as much, but it's something where going into Shaw's, I know I'm going to see at least one person and stop and have a quick conversation with, and that is something very, very unique. My sister's down in Boston, and she's starting to get that where, oh, you see a few people here and there, but it's much bigger in a town like Ludlow where a lot of people. You have those connections, and that's
so true that you say that, because I can't remember her name, but we live in O'Connor Hill, and I remember coming when I used to start dating Dave, and I would drive. Her name's Marie, but she's passed since then, but she lived on the right, and I would go up and she'd be like this, wave to me out the window. I'm like, bless her heart. No, I mean, I'm sorry, but we didn't do that where I was from Middlebury. South Burlington Prior. We didn't go around going, hey, it just didn't happen. But I was like, wow, there's pros and cons to that too. I mean, excuse me. It was awesome because she'd have a pot of coffee going. And I remember Dave, I was like, who's that nice lady down there? He goes, oh, that's Marie. He goes, she's used to make pies for Volante's or one of the restaurants in town. And she was well known for her pies and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's awesome. But you don't see that. But as the community, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is where I really want to kind of join, because as Ludlow, you can make a difference. And if we can at least start it here, because this is what I also noticed too, because you do get a lot of the second home owners. And sometimes there's stigma with that. But I have to tell you, they were amazing, especially during the flood. They were the ones that came right to us. What do you need? What can I do to help? If anybody came down to the community center during the flood, not only was I grateful to have Shaw's, but I had clients that were on the phone like, Paula, what do you need? They were coming in with Amazon orders, like 10, what are those things? Dehumidifiers. We have a good community. We just got to bring it back too.
And I think a lot of those people, they see this community in Ludlow, and that's what they want to be a part of.
And that's where I was sharing with you. One of, I agree with that like 100%. There's so many that want to be. They're like, oh, what do they do for this? What are they? And I'm like, let's get it all going on. And that gets me happy. Because it's like, as I'm seeing stuff, and I know I've shared with you, as things grow and keep moving, it's like, let's get it all together. And have everybody join in. I don't know if that sounds right. Does that sound right? What I just said? Everybody join in, So, but anyways, do you have anything else you want to add? Because I know I could talk to you like all day, just sit back and be like, listen, what's your thought on this? But, at the end of the day, I'm proud, absolutely very proud of you. I am proud of anybody that battles any type of addiction and mental health. But like, I always want to emphasize, you're not alone. You're not alone. And honestly, I have had people come up to me in Shaw's. Paula, you got a minute? I'm like, And I'm not, like I said, I am not a therapist or anything like that. But you know what? I'm an ear, but I'm an honest ear. I don't go around saying, and that's a big thing. Oh, I need to emphasize this huge thing with our group. People want to join our group. People want to belong. But if like a mirror chatty Kathy and a pot stirred, no, thank you. I'm like, no, because the whole idea of it is for people to feel comfortable, to feel people want to get involved. People want to join. We also have a lot of people that reach out that share private things. I don't want that spread through everybody. It's like, we keep it confidential and be proud of who we're representing, because we're representing our town. And I'm very huge with that, because, you can have a negative and, and I try to keep everything positive. And I thank you for our support too. I actually want to thank, even though I am the biggest pain in his ass, but Brendan. Brendan, if you're hearing this, because I don't say thank you enough, but thank you. So sorry.
Yeah.
Because he is, I mean, I am such a pain in his ass. But he really supports what I do.
Yeah.
And that says a lot for a town manager. He, I'm sure he goes behind doors sometimes like, sweet Jesus woman. You know what I mean? Like, okay, Paula, whatever. But he gets it.
Yeah.
And he respects the drive and he thanks me.
Yeah.
And you have, and, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I think from, putting the select board hat on, it's something that I love supporting groups that they just need that letter of support, that check in a box, whatever it might be. They got it going on. Like they have the drive, they have the mission. Cool. We can just tack on to that, help them along the way. And I think that's been a huge piece. I think just having the conversation, letting people know, in all my therapy, still go to therapy.
Good for you. So do I. High five. Yeah. I probably go like once a month. I almost like shoot the shit with her.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of like, hey, it's just touching base, like what's going on. I bounce stuff. It's kind of funny because I bounce shit off her.
Yeah.
But she loves what I'm doing and she follows it. So she's like, you could actually help a lot. And I'm like, no, we're going to keep it at this, girlfriend.
The two pieces I see is like therapy is ideally it's not for crisis. So, hey, I'm having a huge issue. Now I'm going to therapy. Well, you can get to a baseline, but like having that, I don't have a huge issue. We're just slowly working on those little things, keeping tabs. And the biggest insights I've had from therapy are not anything that person has said. It's hearing myself say it, especially out loud, and be like, oh man.
That's what I emphasize with everybody. The work comes within. It's I may shoot the shit and drop something to her, but it's me that comes up with the answer. She's not telling me, well, this is what I think. No, it's pretty much okay.
Yeah.
And then she'll always say, well, you knew the answer anyways.
Yep.
It's almost like a private soundboard that, because Dave's my mellow one, I'm the chaos in our relationship. I bounce shit off him, but he's also my husband.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Having that person that, hey, you are getting paid every time. You have to listen to me.
Yeah. Because
it is very different than that friend or that
spouse,
that partner that you're doing stuff with.
Because Dave's like, well, Jesus, Paul, if I don't say what you want to hear, I'm like, you need to calm that down.
Yeah.
And he goes, just because you agree with one thing doesn't mean everybody else has to. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But like I said, he's my calm. He's definitely my calm, to my chaos, and it works. So, but anyways, as I close this, I do from the bottom of my heart want to thank you. Thank you for supporting me, but also thank you for being honest coming on here today, because it is something not to be ashamed about.
Yeah.
It's something that I think more need to talk about. And if you need resources or help, then reach out. Reach out, because one thing that I emphasize all the time, you're not alone. And I know I also hear this. When you're in a struggle, sometimes people can't reach out. This is where we need to reach in. Not that I walk up to somebody and be like, wow, you look like you're having a shitty day, not doing good. Because we do happy baskets and sunshine baskets. During the winter, we did like soup and fresh bread and blah, blah, blah. There's people that are struggling in this small little town, but it feels good. Feels good to just put a smile on someone's face. I have a trunk full of flowers right now. I gave them to a construction worker riding into town. My God, you think I just gave her like $1 million? I'm like, you're a lady. We all love flowers. Men like flowers too, but but anyways, I want to thank you so much. You're awesome.
Thank you so much.
So awesome.
I appreciate
the work you're
doing is great. And so when I was on the board here, we would, always see what's going on with shows. And I wouldn't, we wouldn't watch Okemo Valley TV. It wasn't on the TV all the time, but little plug for the over-the-top app. You can get it on your Apple TV or your Hulu. So we have that on our Apple TV, and we'll turn it on once a week, see what's new. And yours, like right when you start it, it's like, this is funny. Like this, I think a big piece, and you're you may not use the best language all the time.
I potty mouth. Yeah.
But it's real.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really can break through, is that,
I don't
you are
sugarcoat.
real, and a lot of times that's, you need to, say it how it is. And, like I said before, you can't lie to yourself, and like having that where you're a person that it would be tough to lie to.
Yeah.
It's something where like, hey, you can see it, and you've been there, and that's okay. And we're all just kind of trying to figure out this thing called life.
But as long as we do it together,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, and that's me to a T. Not sugar coating anything. I remember one time Patrick was behind me. I dropped the F-bomb and he just looked at me and I'm like, ooh, and he goes, in other words, just keep it going. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So, but thank you. Thank you again. Thank you, Okemo Valley TV. And I appreciate you. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Actually, my next guest will be Sheriff Ryan Palmer, who will be coming back. So with an update of everything he's been doing. So thank you again. I appreciate you. Have a great day.